December 31st, 2025 was supposed to be a night of hope in Russia. Across the country, families gathered in their homes, preparing to welcome the new year with traditions, laughter, and dreams for a better future. The air was filled with anticipation, and the distant crackle of fireworks promised a night of celebration. Instead, it became a night of terror that would be etched into memory for years to come. The festive mood was shattered in an instant, replaced by confusion and fear, as sirens wailed through the streets. As midnight approached, the air was ripped apart by the shriek of drones and explosions, far from the Ukrainian front lines, deep inside Russian territory. The sky, once meant for fireworks, was now alive with the menacing hum of unmanned aircraft and the thunder of detonations. Searchlights and fire illuminated the sky as critical energy facilities erupted in flames. The glow of burning oil and gas installations outshone the holiday lights, casting an eerie pall over entire neighborhoods. Cell phone videos captured chaos, black smoke, panicked voices, and the unmistakable fear of war arriving at home. Social media feeds filled with frantic updates as people tried to make sense of the devastation unfolding around them. For many Russians, the conflict was no longer distant. It was in their backyards. The illusion that the war was something happening elsewhere to someone else was shattered in a single night. The attacks were widespread and coordinated, overwhelming emergency services and sowing confusion. Firefighters, police, and medics raced from one disaster to the next, struggling to keep up with the scale of destruction. In Rybinsk, a massive fire consumed the temp oil depot, a vital fuel hub. Flames leapt into the sky, visible for miles, as emergency crews fought desperately to contain the inferno. In Tuapse, the Black Sea port's refinery and terminal were rocked by blasts. The port, a crucial artery for Russia's energy exports, was left crippled by the destruction. These were not random strikes. They targeted Russia's economic lifelines, signaling a new phase of the conflict. The attacks were calculated, designed to send a message and inflict maximum disruption. The psychological impact was immediate. Shock and disbelief rippled through the population as people struggled to process the reality of war on their doorstep. The sense of security, carefully maintained by the Kremlin, was shattered in a single night. Authorities scrambled to restore order, but the damage was already done. The message was clear. Nowhere in Russia was truly safe anymore. Streets empty as fear took hold, and families huddled around televisions, desperate for news and reassurance. As firefighters battled the infernos, a chilling realization set in. The rules of this world were changing. The home front was now a battlefield, and the old boundaries no longer applied. The battlefield was expanding, and the events of this New Year's Eve marked the beginning of a far more dangerous chapter. The conflict had crossed the threshold, and there would be no turning back. The world watched as the war's front lines dissolved, replaced by fear and uncertainty. For Russia and for the world, the dawn of 2026 arrived not with hope, but with the sobering reality of a conflict without borders. As dawn broke over the vast Russian heartland, the first rays of sunlight revealed a country on edge, bracing for the aftermath of a long, tense night. The true scale of the attacks became clear as plumes of smoke rose from multiple sites, signaling a coordinated and far-reaching assault. Ukrainian officials soon confirmed a major drone operation targeting Russian energy infrastructure, marking a significant leap in their technological reach and strategic ambition. Meanwhile, Moscow claimed it had thwarted a massive drone assassination attempt on President Putin at his Valdai residence. 91 drones, all allegedly intercepted before reaching their target, in what officials described as an unprecedented security challenge. The Kremlin quickly released footage of a downed Ukrainian drone, using these images to paint Ukraine as a reckless aggressor, and to rally domestic support by portraying Russian defenses as vigilant and unbreakable. Russian state media amplified the narrative of a foiled terrorist plot, fueling patriotic outrage and reinforcing the image of a nation under siege. The world now faced two stark realities: confirmed strikes on vital oil infrastructure and sensational, yet unverified, claims of an audacious attack on Putin himself. As fact and propaganda blurred together, international observers and journalists struggled to separate truth from fiction, questioning what was real and what these dramatic events might mean for the future of the conflict. In this moment, the fog of war had never been thicker, leaving the world to wonder what would come next. The late December attacks showcased the evolution of drone warfare. These weren't hobbyist drones. They were long-range, autonomous weapons, capable of flying hundreds of kilometers and evading advanced air defenses. Launched in coordinated waves, they overwhelmed Russian systems, with some inevitably breaking through to strike key targets. This swarm tactic turned quantity into a weapon, exposing the limits of even the most sophisticated defenses. The concept of a front line has vanished. Now, any location, no matter how deep inside a country, is vulnerable. The psychological toll is immense. The threat of attack is constant, erasing the boundary between battlefield and home. In this new era, military power is measured not just in tanks, but in the ability to project silent, precise threats across vast distances. National security has been fundamentally redefined. After the strikes and Kremlin allegations, an uneasy silence settled over the region. Russia's immediate military response was absent, replaced by ominous threats of asymmetric retaliation. Officials hinted at devastating responses, creating anxiety in Ukraine and among Western allies. The ambiguity was deliberate, psychological warfare designed to keep everyone guessing. The attacks coincided with fragile peace talks, already teetering on the brink. The drone strikes and Russia's fury threatened to derail negotiations entirely. The Kremlin's pause was strategic, gauging international reaction and weighing its next move. Intelligence agencies scrambled to predict Russia's intentions: escalation, leverage, or both. The uncertainty itself became a weapon, leaving the world bracing for what might come next. As 2025 ended, hope was replaced by dread, a sense that something far worse was looming. The Kremlin's response was swift and furious, on television, not the battlefield. State media framed the alleged assassination attempt as Western-sponsored terrorism, demanding retribution. Russian officials issued chilling threats, naming Ukrainian leaders as legitimate targets and promising military, not diplomatic, retaliation. President Putin's New Year's address was defiant, calling for unity and vowing to achieve all military objectives. The official narrative shifted from Russian vulnerability to righteous indignation, hardening public opinion and justifying future escalation. By focusing on the unproven attack on Putin, the Kremlin deflected attention from its own security failures. The stage was set for a new, more brutal phase of the conflict. Russia's message: any future aggression would be framed as self-defense against terrorism. The world's reaction was swift, but deeply divided. Ukraine and its Western allies dismissed Russia's claims as fabrication, accusing Moscow of manufacturing a crisis to justify escalation. Western intelligence found no independent evidence of an attack on Putin's residence, calling the Kremlin's video unverified and likely propaganda. Meanwhile, countries like the UAE, India, and Pakistan condemned the alleged attack and expressed solidarity with Russia, highlighting a growing global divide. Even former US President Trump appeared to accept Russia's version, adding confusion to the diplomatic landscape. With no consensus on the facts, coordinated international response became impossible. Russia's claims, true or not, sowed division and paralyzed diplomacy. The fog of accusation and denial played directly into the Kremlin's hands. The world was left in a state of uncertainty, unable to de-escalate or unite. The late December attacks mark a turning point in the war. For the first time, the conflict has crossed a threshold, with Ukraine demonstrating the capability and willingness to strike targets far beyond the front lines. These attacks are not just symbolic. They are a direct challenge to Russia's sense of security and control within its own borders. Ukraine's ability to strike deep into Russia's economic heartland signals a shift to economic warfare, threatening the Kremlin's ability to sustain its campaign. By targeting vital infrastructure, Ukraine is aiming to disrupt Russia's war machine, sending a clear message that nowhere is truly safe. The economic consequences could ripple for months, if not years. The risk of uncontrolled escalation has skyrocketed. Military analysts warn that each new strike increases the chance of miscalculation, with both sides on high alert and the world watching nervously. Even the allegation of an assassination attempt on a nuclear-armed leader is destabilizing, giving Russia a pretext for extreme retaliation. Such claims, whether true or not, can be used to justify a dramatic escalation in military response, raising the stakes for everyone involved. The peace process, already fragile, is now overshadowed by mutual distrust and animosity. Diplomatic channels are closing, and the hope for a negotiated settlement is fading as both sides dig in. Russia may use the alleged attack to harden its stance or abandon talks, while Ukraine faces mounting pressure not to concede. Leaders on both sides are under intense scrutiny from their own people, making compromise even more difficult. The path to diplomacy is nearly gone, making a prolonged, intensified war more likely. With each passing day, the window for dialogue narrows, replaced by the sounds of conflict and the silence of abandoned negotiation tables. The boundaries of the conflict have vanished. Now, all of Russia and Ukraine are at risk. Civilians on both sides live in constant fear, as the war's reach expands unpredictably, touching lives far from the front. For the world, the danger of regional war spiraling into global catastrophe is more real than ever. International leaders scramble to respond, but the threat of a wider conflict looms over every decision. The psychological landscape has changed. Containment is an illusion, and the future is darker than ever. The sense of security that once existed is gone, replaced by uncertainty and fear that now stretch across borders and continents. The New Year's Eve fires in Russia burned away old assumptions about this war. The battlefield is now borderless. Anyone, anywhere, can be a target. Technology has outpaced diplomacy, making critical infrastructure and leaders vulnerable to precise, long-range attacks. The psychological impact is profound. The home front is gone, replaced by constant vulnerability. As 2026 begins, peace talks are collapsing, and the rhetoric is more extreme than ever. Every move risks catastrophic escalation. Compromise is vanishing. The world is holding its breath, waiting for the next phase of a conflict with no clear limits. The only certainty: the war's borders have faded and the danger is spreading.